Moses shows knowledge of and agrees with the Book of Enoch. This again will be a weighty argument. Genesis 6, 1-2, and it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men that they were good. They took wives for themselves of all whom they choose. And the argument being, Moses just throws this out there, and it's like, there you go, the sons of God interbred with the daughters of men, took wives, no kind of prior context at all for it. But as we saw with the body of Moshe and countless other examples, Yehovah will commonly announce things as truth without there being a prior textual source for them. There is no need for there to be a prior textual source for this. It tells you that this happens at this point. It tells you that the Nephilim are the result, and the Bible defines the Nephilim after that. So the idea that Moses must have gotten this from the Book of Enoch is simply not a logical conclusion. Genesis 6 verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. He just says the Nephilim. Well, there you go. There's a concept, deal with it. And the Bible does go into more detail about the Nephilim afterwards, but even if it didn't, even if this was the only mention of the Nephilim in the entire Bible, it wouldn't be that we would have to have a prior explanation in order to understand it. That's just simply not true. All we need to do is go to the book of Job. Have you come to the sources of the sea? Or have you walked about in the recesses of the deep, where the gates of death revealed to you? Or have you seen the gates of the shadow of death? Have you understood the breadth of the earth? Declare if you know it all. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? Darkness, where is its place? I would very much like to know about the sources of the sea, the recesses of the deep, the gates of death, the gates of the shadow of death, the dwelling of light, where darkness's place is. But it's simply not necessary. Sometimes it's just not necessary for Yehovah to explain something to us, or for us to have a prior frame of reference for it when he introduces it. Some things to Yehovah aren't important. We think they're important because we really like intrigue. We like mystery. We like to know detail about all of these sorts of things. Yehovah, in his word, isn't interested in that. He's interested in instructing us in righteousness. And it seems to me subjectively that he tells us just enough for us to walk in righteousness with him. Some things we don't need a frame of reference to understand. Yehovah will just declare them, and we are to take him at his word. So the idea that because Moses wrote about the Nephilim, that he must have had a prior textual source, just isn't a logical argument. Joshua 12, verse 4, and the border of Og, king of Bashan, who was of the remnant of the Rephaim. Okay, so as far as I am aware, and I don't have an original Hebrew Book of Enoch, if there ever was one, and I don't read Ge'ez. I don't know what the word Rephaim would be in Ge'ez in order to find it in Enoch. But as far as I'm aware, Rephaim is not something that is ever mentioned in Enoch. So just like Nephilim, Rephaim is just something that he throws out there. And then we kind of understand from context of the things we read about them and about what the words mean. Nephal meaning to fall, Rapha perhaps having something to do with the dead or with casting out. We can kind of get a taste of what they mean, but essentially it's immaterial what they mean. That's not what the Bible seems to me to be about. We would like it to be like that because we're really interested in these things, and there's interesting information that we would like to have. But I'd really like to sit down with Yeshua and have a conversation with him about the book of Job and about what all of those things are. But right now, it's just not important for me to know. Leviticus 16 verse 8 says, and Aaron shall cast lots for the two goats, one lot for Yehovah and the other for Azazel. And we know And this is Azazel capitalized in this translation, because we know that Azazel is the name of one of the fallen angels. Anyone who's read the Book of Enoch knows that it's the name of one of the fallen angels. So the idea being that, look, the Bible just mentions Azazel, and it's probably talking about the Book of Enoch. Well, it's talking about this angel anyway. But you'll notice that one lot is for Yehovah, and the other lot is for Azazel. So what we would have here is a goat being given to Yehovah by sacrifice, and then a goat being sent to a fallen angel in the wilderness, which to me subjectively doesn't seem biblically consistent, but maybe it is, because they're putting the sins of the children of Israel on the goat and then sending that to Azazel. They don't kill the goat. But we can understand what this word Azazel means. If we look in the NAS Exhaustive Concordance, we see the definition is entire removal. The usage in the NASB is scapegoat. And this concordance does not disagree with any other concordance. Brown Driver Briggs is probably the most well-respected Hebrew source on Hebrew words. Put it that way. They also agree with entire removal. Strong's agrees with it. Gesenius agrees with it. There is not another concordance which disagrees with the fact that the word itself means entire removal. Now, you could say that the angel was named entire removal, but the doctrine that's being taught is one goat is killed, it is offered as a way to draw near to Yehovah. The sins of Israel are put on the goat, and they are sent away to entire removal. And we see this from later in the passage. We'll see it in verse 21 and 22, but verse 10 says, "But the goat on which the lot for Azazel fell is to cause to stand alive before Yehovah, is caused to stand alive before Yehovah, to make atonement upon it, to send it into the wilderness to Azazel." So if Azazel is supposed to be one of the fallen angels that was punished and is in chains, then you cannot send it to him in the wilderness. This word means separation or entire removal. That's the concept anyway that's being communicated. So the lot on which the lot for entire removal, which is going to be the sins of Israel, it's sent into the wilderness to entire removal. And what we'll see is this is exactly what is said to happen in other words. Leviticus 16:21-22 says, "Then Aharon shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, and shall confess over it all the iniquities of the head of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions in all their sins, and shall put them on the head of the goat, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a fit man." Okay, so to Azazel into the wilderness means to separation. The goat shall bear on itself all the iniquities, and then it says to a land cut off, which agrees with this to separation. And the word of a land cut off, the word being translated is gezerah. Okay, and gezerah means a separation, a separate place. So that agrees. You send it away to Azazel. You send it to a land cut off. You send it to a separation. You send it to entire removal. It's not talking about the fallen angel who is, according to Enoch, bound in chains. The other point is that Azazel, being rendered from the Ge'ez language, what we have is a transliteration. Okay, what that word sounds like in Ge'ez, you try to render it in English. It's not coming from Hebrew. It's just a transliteration from Ge'ez. What we have in Leviticus 16 is a transliteration from Hebrew. One's from Hebrew, one's from Ge'ez, and they both in English sound like Azazel. That doesn't mean that they are the same. In fact, being different languages, I would suggest that perhaps they are different. Okay, you would think that maybe they would be different being from different languages, and that the two words in the original language would mean different things. But the point being, what it actually means in Hebrew isn't sending it to the fallen angel. What it is sending it to separation. So when Moses wrote this, he wasn't calling on the Azazel of the Book of Enoch. He was talking about an entirely different concept, which is separating the children of Israel from their sins. Now this word, translated as a land cut off, it's a separation, a separate place. It's a noun, and it comes from this word, which is gazar. Okay, all Hebrew nouns have verb roots, and the verb root will tell you what is being done by the thing which is named by the noun. And the verb is gazar, and it means to be cut off in the nafal form of it. And again, people don't have understanding of things to do with language, but verbs can be modified in different ways. And the way that they're modified, the letters which are added afterwards, or the vowels that are used in the letters, tells you what form of the word it is. The nafal form of the word means to be cut off, to be separated or excluded. And that is from where we get the idea of gezerah as a place of separation. Okay, what this word means. So you get the noun from that, which is a place of separation. So you send them away to separation, and then you send them into the wilderness to a place of separation. That's the idea being communicated. If we were to just read it in the English and say, well, Azazel is the same word that's rendered in the translations of the Ethiopic, then we can become confused. So factually, I'm going to give that a 1 out of 10 in an effort to be as generous as possible. Because Moshe does use a word, a Hebrew word, which sounds like the English transliteration of the Ge'ez. I don't put any store in that whatsoever personally, but I'm trying to be as generous as possible and not just write these things off and say, no, that's all just garbage. Because we do have to consider these things. So factually, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 instead of a 0. But as an argument as to why we should include it in Scripture, that Moses agrees with the Book of Enoch, he doesn't agree with the Book of Enoch as a fact. And I'm not saying the fact is he doesn't agree with the Book of Enoch. I'm saying it's not a fact that he does agree with the Book of Enoch.